So last year, a huge cheating scandal kicked off between Magnus Carlsen and Hans Niemann, with Carlsen accusing Niemann of cheating more than he'd publicly admitted and more recently than he'd publicly admitted. And this got people wondering, had Niemann cheated over the board in some of his past games? So tons of his games started getting scrutinised, including this one, which is pretty exceptional, and I'm going to show you it today. So this game was played in 2021 in a strong open tournament in Portugal. Now Niemann's opponent was a Swedish FIDE master, Isaac Storm. Niemann had white, and let's see what happened. Now I'm going to run a couple of these opening moves. Hans plays the English opening and then talk about the tool I'm using here to analyse the game. So if we pause here, this tool, Decode Chess, is showing on the right hand side not only what the engine's top move recommendation is, which is pawn to h6 here, but also then what was played in the game and what the centre pawn loss was. And the centre pawn loss, for anyone that doesn't know, that's how much do you damage your position. So 0.5 centre pawn loss would be half a pawn, you've just damaged your position. Anyway, so c6 played, but it doesn't damage the position at all, it's still a good move. Now d4 from Hans, we see the pawn kick on, and I'm not pausing too much on these opening moves, it's quite theoretical. Bishop g5 prepares to eliminate the knight, black sets up the centre, and we see a captures, queen recaptures, and this knight now develops to c3. So black streams out with the bishop, Hans goes e3, and after castles we see the other knight develop, knight to d7 and queen b3, and we're kind of exiting the opening theory now, moving into the middle game. And if at any point, by the way, with this tool you want to dig deeper, then you can click this orange plus button, or there's a dig deeper button here, it's a bit chopped off by my screen, and then you can get everything going on in the position, the plans, the threats, the captures. It's like having a very strong master player sat next to you explaining the position to you. Oh, and I just remembered to mention, there is also a great giveaway coming courtesy of Decode Chess at the end of this video, so stick around for the details of that. So queen d6 now played to protect this bishop on b4. We now see castles, and this sets up a threat of going pawn c5, kicking away the queen and then capturing the bishop. So that's why it now takes. We see the knight takes back. And now after knight f6, again top move, the pawn recaptures, and this knight hits b5. And after the queen moves, this is the first real moment after rook f to c1, now bishop d7, where Hans doesn't play the top engine move here, but he does play the second best move according to this engine at this depth, and the centre pawn loss is 0, as we can see. So he goes knight c7 here, not knight to c3. And now queen takes on b3 played, the pawn recaptures, and after the rook moves away from the knight's attack, it looks like white can just win a pawn, which you can do, but Hans does not do. And if you ever want to add the engine here, you can do so by clicking the fish, which is a bit blocked by my camera, starts bringing you up an engine line. But the whole idea is that black can now drop back the knight, you hit this knight on c7 with 2 pieces, and it can't move away, or you lose the rook on c1. So instead this rook would have to take a second pawn, but now you attack it with the knight. The rook goes, and again knight b5 is using all the pins. Still the knight can't move, the rook is attacked, and basically after it stays on the 7th rank to defend the knight, well, you come back and you can force this draw. So that's why Niemann didn't take the pawn. He doesn't want to go in for a draw. He played this move of bishop to f1, activating to this diagonal. Now we see this pawn kick on, defend itself. Niemann gets going with his b-pawn, trying to get rid of that double pawn. And this is interesting. So the bishop comes to c6, not the engine's top move. Now, as you can see, drawn by the arrow, Hans now finds this tactic of knight takes on a6. And I'm sure black saw this idea, but from afar misassessed it. Because after the bishop now drops back, and by the way, you can't go rook c7 to stay with this bishop, whoops, or you run into pawn b5 and the bishop is pinned to the rook. But what you can do, if I come back here, is go bishop d7, yes, white takes the rook, bishop recaptures, but normally this should be good for black because you've got 2 minor pieces for the rook. But here's what black has underestimated, that after this rook invades, bishop d7, we see a trade here. By the way, top engine move, rook c to a1, but what Hans plays is 0 centre pawn loss. And now after king recaptures, rook c5, we can see the domination of the rook over the 2 minor pieces. Because the b pawn is absolutely deadly, this rook here cuts the bishop's activation and also threatens this pawn, which stops the knight from moving. So that's why black now brings in the king. We see the pawn kick on, now the king comes, and here we can see the computer preferred pawn b3 to b4, but 0 centre pawn loss. Now the knight goes, and again here Hans activates the king and doesn't play g4. I'll cover off that g4 line in just a moment, because after g5, this is the only move in the game where it does give Niemann a centre pawn loss of 0.28, because it wanted to play pawn to g4 here as the top move. And the idea is that you decoy the bishop away, and then when this pawn runs, actually this bishop wanted to be on c6 to block the pawn as a better way to play. But okay, Hans goes king e1. It is still one of the top 3 moves when I was running this with Stockfish. Now f5. The king marches all the way over, and we can see Niemann's plan, which is to invade with his 2 remaining pieces. Now here black plays a strange move of king to e7. You can see here the engine saying that king e6 was best, and it does show you continuations, by the way. So then you could go b6, knight d6, but this is still losing because after the rook invades, although you can attack that rook, the pawn goes anyway, and you just can't stop it going through or shedding loads of material. It's just hopeless for black. So coming back here after king c2, we instead see the king backtracking to e7. The pawn carries on, and after knight d6, well, now this pawn sheds off the board. That's why really the king was better there, but as we saw, there wasn't really much black could do. So this one comes to c6, the rook slides back. Now we see king d7 and d4, great move. As you can see, just running back, the text shows you it vacates d4 and enables king d4. This is the great thing about decode chess. It gives you the idea of the plans, not just the moves. Bishop goes, king comes in, bishop back. This is all black can do. Here comes the invasion, and after bishop a6, rook here, well, now we see resignation after king d8 because the position is hopeless. You can click here to see the best play, and it shows a line something like this. Basically, the pawns march on, you have to shed pieces, and this is just relentless. You lose them all, then you're going to queen, then you're going to checkmate. So details of the Decode Chess giveaway in just a moment, but first, do I think that Hans Niemann cheated in this game? Do I find it in any way suspicious? Well, in a word, no I don't, because I think that all the moves were really quite logical and flowed. I think black just misassessed the position and how powerful the rook would be versus the 2 minors with the outside b pawn. Nothing looks that weird to me in this game. And now to the Decode Chess giveaway, the sponsors of this video. So they're giving away 2 membership plans worth $25. Just leave a comment down below mentioning the word Decode Chess somewhere in your comment. Also like this video, and I'll then randomly generate 2 winners and reach out to you to let you know. And if you just want to check out this awesome tool, then you can do so for absolutely free. Follow the link below and you can already get started. Give it a go. I hope you enjoyed this one. Do let me know your thoughts on Hans Niemann down below, and check out another one of his very interesting games, then see this video on screen. Thanks very much for watching, and see you soon.